And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right. I said welcome back because I know you were all just listening to our stuff and you came back because you wanted more. Well, that was a really good move because we have a lot more for you. Now, why do we have so much for you? Because this is the podcast. It's about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. And our guest today, well, he's a podcaster. It's me. That's right. I'm the guest today. Folks, we are going to give a little bit of a tutorial, kind of a mentorship, real quick, on how to be the best guest that you can be on a podcast. Even if you're a podcaster and you're going on somebody else's podcast, how can you be the best guest possible, right? That's what we're looking for. Also, if you're out there and you want to sell more books, if you want to get more public speaking, engagements, if you want to, talk about content creation. If you want to get, more people following you and the different socials and stuff like that, then this is a great way to do it. You go on podcasts, right? First of all, it doesn't cost you anything. Second of all, it's a great way to tell your story, to be put out there as an expert, and to have something that you can market and to have somebody else marketing you as well. I mean, the synergy of the whole thing is kind of what makes sense. We're going to talk about that today. So, the ABCs of guesting. Here it is. One, two, three. Let's start at the very beginning. All right. Hey, I'm coming on. I'm going to be a guest. Guys, check your lighting. All right. You do not need to have an actual studio. All right. But you just need to be able to see yourself. Right now, you're looking at me. Can you see me? Yeah, you can see me. All right. I'm not all lit up perfectly, but you can see me. Right. I'm not sitting here all dark and, faded out. And I don't have like all the sunshine coming in from one side of my face. Guys, I have a light right there. Okay, shining on me. I have guests come on sometimes and they've got like a light way over here, or they have one behind them, so it's like shining onto the computer. If you're going to be a guest, just have the light facing you so that you are the one that's lit up. Because you know what? That's who the podcaster wants to see, right? It's you. Sound. Listen, I don't care if you're on your phone, okay? But you need to do one little thing in order to keep the host's voice from reverbing back into the mic. All right. If you have headphones, that's one of the biggest things. Now, you don't need to have a mic. You don't need to have, headphones like I'm wearing. Most of us have earbuds or AirPods or some kind of thing, right? Just put something in your ears so that when I'm interviewing you, my voice is going into those, AirBuds, AirPods, whatever they are, into your ears and not out into space so that it comes back into your mic and back to me on the other side. That might sound hard to imagine, but what happens is me on the other side as the host, I get this on my recording. Okay. That's hard. And then I either have to like junk the recording or put out a bad recording, or I have to like edit for 2 hours. Okay. So those little things right there are things that will help you immensely. Okay, guys. I hope that you will just take a couple of those little things under advisement. I have people ask me all the time, is it going to be video? Is it going to be audio? Do we need to dress up? I don't care what you're wearing. You're not dressing up for me. This is being put out. This episode that I'm doing with you is being put out, and we are representing you as an expert. If you're trying to sell books, if you're trying to be an expert in your field, if you're trying to, be an expert speaker, folks, look like you would for a job interview. If you want people to see this and you want them to be really impressed by you and they want you to hire them to hire you, then don't show up in a t-shirt, you know what I mean? And with a rip down and a stain over here from breakfast. you know, I don't care if you're wearing that. You're not dressing up for me. You know what I mean? But I also recognize that you guys are using this. So I almost never show up to an interview wearing a hoodie, like I have on now. I'll always wear, some kind of a top, right? Something neat, usually zipped up, Sometimes I shave. I do my best. But I recognize that you may be putting this out. And so as a podcaster, I try to look presentable as well. I'm trying not to show up, with food all over my shirt either. Okay. Although sometimes for us big guys, it's a little hard. Those are small things, right? Let's get into the stuff that starts to kind of matter. Do a little bit of research, you guys. Just a touch. I understand not everybody has time to listen to a bunch of episodes, okay, before you come on. But listen a little. Maybe scan through an episode, right? If the podcaster has a flow about him, if he has a way of asking questions, if he has a question he asks everybody, okay. For instance, I bring people in the Podcaster Nation, and I say, okay, I have two questions for you guys. All right, everything else is totally off the cuff, right? It's all natural. But I do usually ask everybody two questions. One's a corny question, okay, which I'll get to later. Right there, I know if you've ever listened to one of my episodes before. Okay. People who have heard it go, yep, got the corny question. They've heard it. I do it in every episode. Okay. If they've never listened before, they go, oh, okay. You've never listened to one of my episodes and you just came on my show. That's cool. At least now I know what I'm dealing with. Not a problem. All right. But a little bit of that research helps you. Okay. Helps the host. Nothing wrong with giving somebody a download anyway. But it does familiarize you as the guest with kind of the flow and how they talk and all that. It's simple, simple stuff. You don't need to research who I am necessarily. You don't need to like know, oh, he's got 10 podcasts and he does this and he does that. But it's not a bad idea if you know, right, that I do have some other stuff or how I ask questions or what the corny question might be, right? So anyway, do a little bit of research on that kind of thing. Let's see here. Another thing about the research, I can't tell you how many times I have people show up and what they say is, oh, is this video and audio? I had no idea. I do a lot of work with guests through Podmatch. Okay. Right on the Podmatch profile, it says audio or video or both. Bing, right there, both. Okay. It is written. If you don't know if somebody's audio and video, assume that they are. Okay. Assume that they are both. I have people go, oh, well, if it's going to be video, then I mean, I need to. Okay, you got to go get ready. Well, then go get ready. If I have to reschedule, I'll reschedule. But always assume in today's day and age, the number of podcasts that are audio only and don't have any video component to them at all is so minute. Okay, it still happens and it can be effective that way, but it's so incredibly small. All right, so I'm asking you, just assume for that. Here's another little thing. A lot of podcasters will tell you, oh, please show up on time. I could care less if you're on time. Okay, half the time I'm 2 minutes late. Look, I don't, as long as you're there, I don't care. And I give everybody 10 or 15 minutes to get there. No problem. You know, people can run late. Life happens to you. I also don't really care if you reschedule. If you contact me and you're like, hey, I can't make it, I'm trying. Great. Thanks for the courtesy of rescheduling. The thing that kills you is the no-show. The no-show. Okay. The no-show is literally, I have no respect for your time at all. I didn't even bother to contact you to let you know I'm not coming. That's really hard. You know, it's hard for a podcaster to deal with. It also, you know, it kind of hits us in the wallet. A lot of us get paid to podcasting nowadays to do podcasting. Some of us get paid per episode, and some of us get paid just to do the recording. So there's a lot of different ways that we actually do monetize what we do over on this side of the mic. When you no show, then we literally have taken an hour, hour and a half out of our day and thrown it away. Right? So the least that you can do is at least call, email something and try to reschedule or just say, I can't make it. The no call, no show is tough. All right, folks. And I've had just way too many of those. Now, all of that being said, when you show up to tell your story. If you're coming on to talk about your books, get ready to talk about your books. Have the story. Where'd the book come from? Right? Where'd the idea come from? What motivated you? You already know a lot of the questions that a lot of podcasters are going to ask you. Now, I'm kind of famous for asking unique questions, for asking questions that you may not have heard before. I'm kind of well known for going really deep on some of these topics because, you know, I research my subject. I do everything I can do. I try and, you know, get in there and I'm listening really hard. But you know what? We can't all do that every day. I can't do that every single day. So you have an idea of what they're going to ask you. Don't make the podcaster ask you every single question to get 2 sentences out of you. Okay? They want to give you time. The podcaster wants to give you the floor. Speak. Tell your story. All right? Show up ready to tell your story. Okay? There's a lot of different ways you can do that. A lot of different podcasters do things differently in terms of, you know, prepared questions or how they handle things. All of my stuff is totally organic. All right. So you really don't have any idea what you're going to get when we come on. It's just a good conversation. But if you show up ready to tell your story, then that's going to allow me to do my job as the podcaster. to the best of my ability. I'm not going to have to be like, so, um, tell me what the book's about, right? Because we're going to be able to have an actual conversation about what really matters. Okay, so show up that way. Also, understand the time. Lately, especially, I've had people who show up. I book 90-minute slots. Okay, so on the calendar, it's a 90-minute slot. I usually explain pretty fully that I don't need you for that whole 90 minutes. That 90 minutes is an in case, it's a sort of, hey, it's a buffer, the whole bit. If we try and record for 45 minutes, and I go over maybe to 50, sometimes even 60 if if that's where we're going, right? But if we go 45 minutes to an hour in a 90-minute booked interview, that only leaves me 30 to 40 minutes extra. If you're 10 minutes late, well, we just lost 10 minutes. If you show up on time, but we talk for 10 minutes going over the stuff. Okay, so the names of your books are these, and this is the topic that you speak on. Got it. Okay, and I pronounce your name this way, right? And I want to make sure I have this. Okay, I want to make sure I got these awards right, so let me go over them. Folks, that takes a minute. And a good podcaster is going to take a few minutes before each episode to go over those things with you before they hit record. They're doing that for you so that they can get the information out because that's what they want. They want it to be accurate for you. My audience doesn't know if I just got your information wrong. Frankly, they don't care. Your audience cares. Okay? You care. And that's why we're doing it. But it takes a minute. And if I need 10 or 15 minutes to do that, well, that has to be built in. I've actually had people say, I'm not booking 90 minutes. I'm willing to book 60. Okay? Then our interview is going to be between 35 and 40 minutes. And that's what we're going to do. And they actually came back and said, well, you usually talk to people for 50 to 60 minutes. Sure. If I say hello, nice to meet you, and hit record. It's a process, folks. I mean, I like to have a couple of minutes afterwards to, I don't know, say thank you and say, hey, let's exchange emails. How would you like the links sent to you? I don't know, little things that are courteous, right? As a guest, give your podcast host a break. They're trying to do a good job for you. Okay. Don't, hamstring them by saying, oh, I don't have an extra 15 minutes for you. That time frame is built for you and for the podcaster both. It's not to try and hurt anybody. So get that straight ahead of time because I have had people show up, especially recently, where I actually check, right? I'm like, okay, so we record for about this long. It's going to take about this long. We good, for that time frame. And they actually stop and go, actually, no, I have another appointment. I have a hard stop at 30 minutes from now. My normal interview is about 45 minutes. So now I either have to give you a short, not as good as everybody else interview, not really do my best to tell your story, or I have to reschedule because you weren't aware at the time. I was aware at the time. Okay. And you weren't. So folks, do what you can. Understand the time. And if you can't give that time to a podcast interview, then reschedule for a time when you can. Okay. You're not desperate. We're not desperate. Let's just make it work for everybody. Now, as you go through the interview, the idea to having a good interview, and I'm just going to be honest about this, is that everybody understands the synergy of what takes place in a podcast interview. Okay? As a podcaster, I'm coming on and I am giving you a beautiful piece of marketing that is going to present you as an expert that you then get to share, okay, to promote yourself and your books and everything else to everybody who might be on your end. I'm also offering to promote you over on my end to all the people who listen to me that you've never met before. And let's be honest, that's why you're coming on the podcast, right? So the synergy is that the podcaster is doing for you, and you as the guest, you are doing for the podcaster. This totally breaks down when you get a guest, like I got to go back and forth with the other day, who thinks that he's God's gift to guesting and that he's just doing everybody a favor. A lot of you have asked me about this, and you've seen it. So I was unfortunately on a thread with Alex Sanfilippo, the guy who started Podmatch. He put out a nice post about podcasters waiting for guests to share the episode. And it was a joke, and everybody was kind of kidding around. It was no big deal. And some author who decided that he was going to try and prove a point decided to come on and make these horrible comments about how he doesn't share the episodes when he's a guest because all podcasters ask the exact same questions and it's boring for his listeners. And he's not going to give them repetitive content. And then, when questioned about it, very politely by some of the other commentators, this guy went on to say, "It's not my job to promote your podcast. That's your job." I couldn't, I couldn't hold back. I couldn't stop. And so I just responded. And I'm like, "Hey, brother, I get it. Um, it sounds to me like all you're in it for then is just to be able to get access to the podcaster's audience. And you really don't think you have any responsibility back there, you know?" He got so mad because I called him out. And he said, "What do you mean access to their audience?" And then he went on to list all these things, that are so great about him and why every podcaster would want to have him on the show. After a lot of back and forth, and I'll save you the time, after a lot of back and forth, this guy finally said, "Well, yeah, it's because I get access to the podcaster's audience. Okay. Yes, that has value." He finally admitted it and still doubled down on how he didn't feel like he needed to share the episode to his people. Folks, as a podcaster, we only have two reasons to bring a guest on. Okay. One, we want to create some variable, different content that has some value for our listeners, right? It's not just me talking all the time, giving my opinion on stuff, right? Or telling stories. It's, a little variance. It's a new voice. It's some new information. So I bring a guest on that I think is going to have helpful information for my audience. That's great. The second reason, which frankly in a lot of cases is bigger, is to help grow the podcast. There's a synergy here. All right. I have so many authors that I have fantastic relationships with. I have public speakers that I have fantastic relationships with. They come on my podcast to promote their new book. I love it. They come back again to promote the next book. And if it's been a while, they promote those books again. And we talk about maybe a different story. They come on so that they can sell to my audience. In doing that, they share the episode with their audience so that their audience, right, has another podcast option for them to listen to. They might hear the episode and decide they like me or they like my voice or they like the questions, and then maybe they want to follow me. There's no threat to that author by sharing that episode. He doesn't care what podcast anybody's listening to. It's just a matter of the attitude. A podcaster does not go into the interview thinking that, you should be grateful to be on his podcast. I go on every one of my episodes grateful that you want to come on my show. And I make sure that I let you know that. And I hope to make you feel that way. All I ask is that, hey, you do your part too. When we're all done, and I've spent my time, my money, my effort, and my energy, done my research, and done my absolute best to give you a good interview and a good marketing piece, that you share it. Why is that controversial? And yet so many guests feel like I shouldn't have to. I mean, that's a real attitude. Folks, that's literally where this whole thing breaks down. That's where this community breaks down. Okay, when we stop doing for each other, knowing that in doing so, we're also getting something back. I mean, it's the give and take, it's the push and pull, it's the yin and the yang. The people in this group, especially, when you look at the eclectic nature of all of us, so many of us are doing more than one of these foundational blocks. With podcasters, speakers, writers, and content creators in a group, we are all doing at least that one thing. And many of us are doing 2, 3, or 4 of those things. We all work together. Absolutely, we all work together. And as long as you as a guest go on to the podcast understanding that's the synergy, it is a fantastic event. It's a wonderful thing to have happen. And it works great. When you go on to the podcast with an attitude of, well, you should just be happy that I'm here. It doesn't work. Okay. It just does not play out. That's not how the universe works. So I hope that I'm making the point. And honestly, this guy. I'm just going to say he's an author, and we'll just say his name is Vince. Any of you can go back and look at Alex's thread. Um, a lot of you saw it, and that's why I'm addressing it now. There's probably 20 or 30 people in this group alone that have already asked me about that thread because I held back hard on this guy. Anyway, I hope that you folks can kind of understand what I'm saying. So back to the art of guesting. Um, Make sure that before the episode starts, and we're gonna get back in between the navigational beacons here, folks. Make sure that before the episode even starts, that you and the podcaster have a quick discussion about what you are trying to promote. Now, a good podcaster is going to ask you that question. He or she is going to say, "So, all right, I've got the book, I've got the course, I've got this, we've got the free that. Now, is there something in here that you're trying to promote sort of, above the others? Is it just tell the story and make sure all this gets out? Or is there something I missed? Right? Simple, simple, simple. If I'm doing an episode for you, I want to know what you want to promote because that's win-win. And the better I help you promote it, the more you're going to want to share it. But as a guest, do your part. Make sure that the podcaster knows, hey, this is what I'm trying to promote. Don't be embarrassed about that. You're going on the podcast for a reason. Just let them know. Tell he or she, this is what I really am hoping to promote. Everything else is awesome. Do whatever we got to do. A podcaster will appreciate that. A good podcaster is going to appreciate the heck out of that because it lets them know where we need to go. It lets them know how to keep things, in between the lines. Make sure that you are your own advocate as a guest. Have the conversation up front. Now, when it comes down to the closing and the ending and everything else, your podcaster is going to ask you, hey, how do you want the links sent out? Can I get your email? Listen, if you are at that point where you're like, I don't want to give out my email. I mean, if you have that little trust for the podcaster you're dealing with, what are you doing on that podcast? What in the world are you doing? Folks, come on now. I've just seen so many weird things in the last couple of months that I just really felt like I had to include this. As you close things up, come up with a way. Hey, how can I get the links? All right, what are you going to provide me? And get an idea. How long is it going to be till this comes out? And that's that. Okay. Now, a podcaster can give you an idea of when it's going to come out. They may not be able to say it's coming out on this date. They may say it's coming out around here or in X number of weeks or months. Okay. That's not the time to get upset. That's not the time to, volley or lobby for, getting it out earlier. Um, Folks, podcasters have backup stuff. This is what we're supposed to do. Okay. And podcasters out there, I love you guys. But if you're interviewing somebody today and you're using their content tomorrow, then chances are you don't have anything in the tank. That is no way to run your podcast. You need to come talk to me. Okay. We got to do something for you. All right. Because you're living under way too much fight and flight, if that's the deal. Anyway, as a guest, we're going to reel this back in here. As a guest, when you do get it, share it. Okay. Yes, it helps the podcaster. Yes, it helps you. And I want to speak to the argument of, well, if I'm on 4 podcasts, I don't want to share all those because my audience doesn't want to listen to that story 4 times. I have news for you. Your audience is not stupid. So if they have heard it one time, they're not going to click on it the other 3 times. Wake up. In your world, do you honestly believe that every one of your followers is going to click on every one of those podcasts and listen to the entire thing and be bored because it was all the same questions? Okay. Either you understand how sarcastic I'm being right now or you don't. And if you don't, you know what? You need to leave the group. I'm sorry. You got to go because you just don't understand it at all. Folks, your people on social media are not going to click on those episodes 9 times out of 10. Occasionally they will. But the value it has for you as a guest, you're showing your guest that you were interviewed as an expert in your field by this podcast, by this podcast, by this podcast. This podcast also. You are building credibility with your own fans. And if you don't think that's true, start asking them. Start, run a few focus groups. Put out a couple survey questions. I'm telling you, right now, it absolutely raises your profile and your credibility to be interviewed on a podcast. And most of these people are only going to see, oh, wow, Rory's been interviewed on like 5 podcasts. Geez, he must be doing something big. That's how social media works. You have nothing to lose. There is zero negative at all for you as a guest to share that episode. Okay? None. And honestly, the idiot that was, arguing with me on Alex's, you know, thread doesn't understand that because he's too full of himself to be able to handle it. So anyway, and I love that this is going to be an episode on the podcast forever so that this is always there because this guy deserves that. But anyway, folks, to be a good guest at the end of the day is to understand the synergy with you and the podcaster, understand what you're trying to do by going on the podcast in the first place. And even though we kind of glanced over it, I want to go back to it one more time. Tell your story. Share something. Okay? There's a lot of talk about what your audience does and doesn't want to hear. My audience doesn't want to see me selling something every day, or they don't want to see me pushing my book every time I put up a post, or, any of these other things. We're so conscious about selling and offending people today. Folks, if you want to do something that's not going to offend and isn't going to bore your followers, then open up. Tell them your actual story. Tell them some things that maybe you've never told anybody before. Let them in and let them know you. Okay? They're going to know your book. They're going to know your speech. They're going to know your content. They're going to know your podcast. Let them know you. When it comes right down to it, guesting is about telling the world who you really are, letting them in, and building a connection. Because, people don't necessarily want to buy the book just to buy the book. But if they like the person, that book's getting bought right now. I mean, hey, I've bought every book Sylvester Stallone's ever put out. Everything that's ever been written about him by somebody else. Because I think he's awesome. I'm not going to front. Think about that. What books do you buy? Now, I'm using authors as an example here. It's anybody who comes on the podcast. And as podcasters, we have to remember this too. As podcasters, I think we go on to other people's programs and we kind of forget what the other chair is for. When we come on, we forget that the other chair is for people to get to know us as people. And that what that podcaster is looking for is to get to know us as people. They know us behind the mic. They don't know us in the guest chair. So folks, open up, let them in. Okay. Follow these little principles right here. And this is going to make the most you can possibly make out of your guesting experience. And it's going to work really, really well for you. You will sell more books. You will book more stages. You will have more followers on your content, and you will get more people listening to your podcast. Okay. This is just an absolute universal truth. And I hope it brings some reminders and helps some of you guys out. So we're going to end the podcast episode now, and then we'll end the live that we're doing in our group simultaneously. If you folks are listening to the podcast here on the Podcaster Nation, and you're not a part of our Wake Up the Mic group, go find it on Facebook. Apply. The link is in our show notes. If you are a podcaster, if you are a content creator, if you are an author, and if you are a public speaker, okay, get in this group, start networking with people. We have all kinds of things coming up for you. We have tutorials coming. We've got seminars coming up. It's going to be great. And I value every one of you that's in this group. So, all right, folks, for the Podcaster Nation crowd, this has been another episode of the Podcaster Nation. That's right. We're going to end it the way we always end it. So here we go. Folks, this is the podcast. It's about podcasters. It's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. This is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.